you for your attention. I am excited to introduce to you today our last presenter, Dave McFadden, and many of you know Dave. He's the president of New Vision, Yakima County Development Association. He's worked in the economic development arena for 20 years, and 14 of those years have been for the Yakima County Development Association. Dave has been heavily involved in recruiting new businesses to Yakima Valley, including Walmart's 600 employee distribution center in Grandview, Northwest Horticulture in Mabton, and the Amtech in Wapato. Thank you. He's also helped dozens of local companies with expansion projects as well, and is a past president of WEDA, and we're excited to have him present to us today. So, Dave.
I know I'm your last speaker before the reception, so bear with me. Delighted to be here. I wanted to talk about three things today. Certainly talk about the development of our Yakima Valley talent pipeline, but I want to try and put it also into a broader perspective so the work that we've done can possibly be replicated in part or whole by you folks in your communities. And then I have, as Jeff mentioned, been in economic development for over 20 years, and most of that time I've been pretty intimate in terms of working with my workforce partners, and I just thought I would share with you some tips and perspectives that are helpful as we're talking about the confluence between economic development and workforce development. So thanks for having me. I get to play clicker. And you know, our challenge is not unique in terms of attracting talent, filling technical and professional positions at local employers. I think we all face some of that. It just takes different shape and dimension given, you know, your own unique community setting. No exception in our community. We did a poll a couple of years ago, and 3/4 of our local employers said it was difficult to attract employees from outside of the area. Well, concomitantly, they said it was almost impossible to fill their technical and professional positions based on the local labor market alone. You know, and some of that you'd expect. You know, it's going to be awful hard for us to find a doctor, you know, or an aerospace machinist when our local training institutions don't yet quite produce that kind of talent. But further stats, 58% of the technical and managerial employees are certainly, they depend on recruitment from outside the area, and the employer said this is the biggest barrier to their growth, the lack of workforce skills or the inability to attract talented people to their company. That'll be the biggest barrier they face to their growth over the next 3 to 5 years. You know, every community has some K-12 systems, some higher education systems. We're no different. We're a little more place-bound, a little more unique. We don't necessarily have a 4-year public university in our community. The nearest one is Central. Central's 35 miles away, and it's a huge resource for us, but geographically, it is distinct, you know, in a different spot than Yakima proper. We have a 4-year private university called Heritage, great school, but with a student count of about 1,200, you know, not a huge pipeline. A lot of them are graduating with, you know, teachers' degrees and other things that are extremely valuable, but not necessarily going to fill the whole demand, especially for some of our private employers. So we looked at this and we said, hey, we need to take a two-pronged approach to resolving this. One, we really need to sit down with our employers and figure out how to better help them attract those talented individuals and professionals from outside our community. That's a question we had never asked before. And secondly, we wanted to focus on how we could at least address some of the pipeline by training up or bumping up the skills of some of the incumbent workers that we already have in the labor force in Yakima County. So, two different real strategies we took. For our talent attraction, we worked with local human resource managers Also in their office, they often have full-time recruiters. We work with real estate agents and workforce council staff. Remember, these are the folks that helped us, shape an initiative to soften the landing, to sell our community to that prospective, talented individual that's going to take a job and move into our valley for the first time. On a more local level, for our talent development component, we worked through really our workforce council. They had put together skill panels and been operating them very effectively for probably 5-7 years, and really a lot of our specific skill training, a lot of our discussions around skills needed for advancement came through those skill panel discussions. As we moved into actually identifying the training, delivering the training, we brought in another partner I think you're familiar with, Impact Washington. And so I'll go into both of those in more detail. But as you can see, we were starting from scratch, and we just literally fielded a steering committee to guide our efforts out of the gate in both respects, and I'll talk about more on each initiative now. So, with respect to talent development, as I mentioned, our skills panels in healthcare and manufacturing were really our core audience as we went into to ask them, what are the things you really need to increase productivity, fill key entry-level management positions, or bump those entry-level managers into higher positions and create career ladders. They were quite illuminating in terms of some of the things they needed. And one of the things we focused on initially, which was really out of our manufacturing discussion, was general lean manufacturing training. A lot of companies were interested in it, but found, gee, it's pretty darn expensive. It's not only the money cost, it's also just the energy of effort to be successful. And companies wanted to expose their entry-level and seasoned managers to the concepts of lean and kind of take a go-slow approach. That was often the case, but actually as we delivered the training, we again had a lot of different companies involved, probably 70 different ones. At least 6 or 7 of them said, no. We're gonna go to the next level. We've seen enough, and they contracted with Impact Washington to actually do either week-long or extended training at the facility that would get their entire workforce to a different level. So, as you can see, we started with lean manufacturing, but then we moved into the office. We offered an office lean course, recognizing that a lot of folks in healthcare are more in that setting. We had our hospital actually do a follow-up lean office initiative with Impact Washington that resulted. And then finally, more recently, we built on that, and we asked our employers, well, what do you really want? And they came back and squarely said, we have a lot of entry-level managers that we're finding really don't have great supervisory skills. They really have little experience managing people. They don't understand the rights, the wrongs, how sensitive that is in an employment law perspective. And so we said, well, we can help. We can offer some different supervisory training courses, and as soon as we offered them, I think the strength of the program was that we had to add more sections. We originally thought, well, we'll get about 15 to 20 employees from different companies up and down the valley. We doubled that. And so we sold out. We offered 2 complete sections on each of the 3 supervisory training courses. We had so much interest in it that we are actually going to offer 3 more sections this fall. And so that is a deep interest from our local community, and it really addresses something that does fill that talent pipeline. A lot of these folks were just brand new to management, had a great deal of potential in their company to advance, but needed these core skills in order to really go to the next level. On the other side of the pipeline, there's helping employers try and grab people from outside the community or recruit those talented individuals to take positions at local jobs. And really we started the Talent Attraction and Retention Initiative recognizing that this is a huge issue. And it's not just an issue for us in Yakima, it's really an issue that's nationwide. I would just qualify that as I started looking at baby boomer retirement trends, that's the biggest generation that we've seen in probably 50, 60 years. Are all headed towards the exit gate. And while the recession may have slowed down that train a little bit, most experts agree that that's going to start back up again, and that we're going to have growing skill shortages as early as 2017, 2018, and they're going to range from all different disciplines, from blue collar, whether it's a welder to a doctor to an aerospace machinist. Our skilled workforce is aging, and it's not going to be around forever. And so really what we discovered was, yes, we have those pipeline challenges, and our consultant who looked at this issue for us said, have you heard of a person named Richard Florida? And I go, oh boy, yeah, I have. And if you haven't, Richard's written an interesting book that says, young people are like gold. You want to get them and you want to keep them in your communities, especially the smart ones, because they're going to drive your future economic well-being. Well, we looked at that and said, yeah, we generally agree. We're just not going to discriminate against age. All people of all ages that could fill a technical or professional position in our community are important. Whether they're 25 or 55, we want them. And so it was really through that we sat down with that advisory committee, and that was, again, composed of the realtors, the HR officials, the workforce council.